Hello Trenchers, welcome in this short video of new Antioch subfaction video Free State of Prussia. In this sub-warband, the unit selection is the same as for new Antioch, only difference is the quantity you can choose. The warband has some different rules how it plays compared to the generic new Antioch, and it has one specific item only. But going through the rules, the first one is the expert fire teams, which lets you to make 3 fire teams instead of 2. So it's generally good, but it's still dangerous in the way that if you make risky rolls during the fire team activation, it can ruin your day if you fail it, so you need to be careful with it. But having more fire team options, it's always good. The second one is Masters of the Grenade, which is, I think, maybe one of the nicest rule, which adds extra 4-inch range on all the grenade weapons, which means instead of 8, the grenade range is 12. And I think it's pretty terrifying, so this guarantees that your Shocktroopers most probably running around with grenades other than the melee weapons. So yeah, I think it's a very good rule. Forward positions. It lets you to upgrade 2 Shocktrooper for 10 ducat to get the infiltrator keyword, and later you will see why. But I think this is very good because you can set up some very well equipped unit in the front line and just simply show it into the face of the opponent. It's especially strong if you manage to start the game. The Rapid Assault, I think it's a mandatory upgrade for every unit, you can buy it. So this one lets you to give the +1 dice for dash actions to all your Shocktroopers and the Lieutenant, and it's only for 5 ducats, so I think it's kind of free considering how good this skill is, or modification. The specialized equipment, it's changing the limit on the submachine gun from 2 to 4. So you have more assault weapon to shoot with. And the automatic shotgun and assault pistols are not limited to elite, so it means you can also buy it for your Shocktroopers and the Hauptmann and so on. But you cannot have any grenade launcher and only 1 machine gun instead of 2. So it has some, let's say, balancing. The troop selection is changing your warband rule to have minimum 2 Shocktrooper all the time, and it's also increasing the maximum number of them to 8 from 5. But in exchange, you can have only 1 mechanized heavy infantry instead of 3, and only 1 sniper priest instead of 2, and you cannot have any trench mall, which means you cannot promote any Hauptmann to have infiltrator keyword, and that's why you have the ability to give the infiltrator keyword to your 2 of your Shocktrooper. So the lightly armored rule says that other than your mechanized heavy infantry and lieutenant, no any other unit in your army can have reinforced armor or machine armor, which means every other unit needs to be in standard armor. And the light melee skill is removing the assault drill from the Shocktroopers, and with that you cannot have the shield plus melee weapon combo. So if you have any 2-handed melee weapon, you need to have 2 free hands, so it comes with some negative options. But if you manage to gain the strong keyword during the campaign on a Shocktrooper, for example, it's still working after that. As the only special weapon, the Prussia has the tongue splitter sword, which is a very good can opener, and this one says if the opponent target unit has any armor other than the shield, one of your injury dice is immediately set to a 6 and you roll the rest of the dice. And it's also a +1, so it means it's way easier to have double 6, for example, if you facing a unit with -3 armor. So this is a very unpleasant weapon, I would say. In my head, the best option for the free sword you can have in your army is 2 for the infiltrator Shocktroopers and 1 for your lieutenant. So all in all, based on the Warband rules, I think it's safe to say that the Prussia army is building on the Shocktroopers. And only thing you need to consider is that since you cannot give it reinforced armor even if it's elite, it can only have standard armor, which means it's going to die probably pretty quickly or frequently, and you need to have 2 at least in your army. So it means you need to rebuy them probably a lot. So the only way to increase their survivability is either promoting them to elite as soon as possible, or giving them at least standard armor and or trench shield. But just 3 quick examples how I imagine the Shocktroopers. The first version, as I mentioned, with grenade and tank splitter sword and standard armor, and it's already 82 ducat. The other version is with submachine gun and the same equipment for 105 ducat. And the third one is with grenade and 2 sword axe melee weapon and standard armor for 75. So it's not cheap. But I need to mention that I didn't include the cost for rapid assault or the forward position, which makes them even more expensive. So making good Shocktroopers is not cheap. If they die, it's very tricky to rebuy them. So I think it's crucial for a Prussia sub-warband during a campaign to promote them as soon as possible. And about campaign, I think it's safe to say that the ignore armor and ignore on crit abilities are the same as for the normal New Antioch, except we have the tank splitter sword, which is not exactly ignore armor, but kind of. You have a bit more option for killing armored units at least. And as for promoting units, as I mentioned, I think the Shocktrooper is the main target for you during a campaign. And secondary option, you can promote at least your lonely mechanized heavy infantry, so you don't need to rebuy that one either, because you can have only one, so you need to kind of protect it also. So I think this is the safe choices for you in this warband. I think this warband is very interesting because it's very heavily melee focused and plays very not very differently, but kind of differently compared to the regular or the other sub-warbands. And as far as I remember, Thomas said that there will be official minis for them, or at least some of the units, but we will see when these are released how they will look like, but probably according to the artworks, they are going to be very cool. If you have any question or comment, let me know. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video. Bye bye.